Find a plan that goes with your flow. Get unlimited local talk, text, and data at the most affordable rate with Unlimited Flow Postpaid. Only at Docomo Pacific.
Try Wendy's deliciously indulgent mushroom bacon cheeseburger made with juicy beef, crispy applewood smoked bacon, savory roasted mushrooms, Munster cheese, and a creamy garlic spread, all on a soft toasted bun. Make it a combo and try it in a double or a triple. Wendy's, good done right. Beat the heat and indulge in fruity cold smoothies at Cold Stone Creamery today. And if you're looking for a healthier alternative, they've got an acai bowl packed with fruits for a refreshing holiday from the hot sun. And whatever is stressing you out, take the family, treat your friends, or hog it all to yourself. Cold Stone Creamery, the ultimate ice cream experience.
Kandit News is brought to you by 76 Circle K Walk.
Good evening, my dear friends, especially my brothers and sisters from the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. And this entire show is dedicated to your economy, your tourism. It is 9:21 p.m. on Monday, January 20, 2025. I'm Troy Torres. Thank you so much for tuning in on this discussion that centers around the resignation of Chris Concepcion as managing director or general manager or whatever that title is of Marianas Visitors Authority, MVA. For more than a year now, our columnist, the Mabel Doge Lujan, who writes the column Mabel's Table, has been over and over, just on repeat, talking about the problems, talking about why travelers from Japan, Korea, and Taiwan are choosing other destinations aside from Guam and the CNMI, the problems that the CNMI government has been facing that keeps the tourists from choosing Saipan, Tinian, and Rota, and the solutions that she believes this modern post-pandemic world, this post-pandemic market of travelers from Asia, solutions that can attract them to Saipan, Tinian, and Rota. Now, Miss Lujan, you know, she's not from Guam, so she doesn't offer too many opinions in her column about Guam. And when it comes to tourism, she has not offered anything regarding Guam, though I would love to hear her perspective on it. But among the solutions that why don't we start with the problems, right? The problems that she's talked about. One, of course, is something that can't be escaped, and that is the value of the dollar against the yen and the won and all that stuff, right? And how, that makes things more expensive in America for Japanese and Korean tourists, granted. But she's also talked about how the government of the CNMI has done nothing to rein in what obviously is collusion among some members of the elite in the CNMI that have kept hotel prices and other prices very high. And then there's also the poaching behavior of the taxi services, things that are within the CNMI government's control to enforce and to regulate. Something simpler than that. Sprucing up the attractions. Something simpler than sprucing up the attractions. Getting rid of the poker parlors. The poker parlors from which, so much seedy activity happens, and in areas that are facing these hotels, areas where the tourists would go and, we would be walking through, only to be harassed, only to see things that are unsightly, see things that they don't want to see when they're on vacation, especially when they're with their families. And then there are more creative things that Ms. Lujan has proffered, or more. Let's talk about some of the solutions, right? What about the fact that gays and lesbians in Japan, Korea, Taiwan, or wherever else can get married in the CNMI because the CNMI honors gay marriages? What about the fact that the CNMI has a cannabis industry, a legal cannabis industry? Why isn't that being marketed a little bit more? And why are the traditional marketing campaigns failing? And so over the past year, Mabel Doge Lujan, who, by the way, has, I don't want to give away too much of her identity. She's very well versed in economics and socioeconomics. Let me just put it that way. She has been writing about this, and peppered into this writing in Mabel's table has been her exposure, and also sometimes Kandit writes. So I'll write about it sometimes as stories exposing the waste of money that MVA has approved. And when you look at all of the travel that has been done by Chris Concepcion and members of the MVA staff and the board and others who have been along for the ride, trips to Europe, to Langkawi, a resort destination, to Australia, to I think Louisiana. I mean, all these places that are not source markets for the CNMI. All these places where there is next to zero of the possibility that enough tourists from those places will come to the CNMI to offset the cost that the CNMI government, you, the taxpayers, paid to send these government officials on these, what amount to vacations for these government officials at your expense, with their steak and their lobster and their opulence and their first class accommodations and hotel rooms. It's just been such a waste. And it's not just the waste that is depressing and that should be criminal. It's the fact that as they're wasting all this money, they haven't done a damn thing to actually bring in tourists. Now, they talk about spending this money on these marketing campaigns and these marketing firms, and no one seems to be able to tell whether these marketing firms are reputable and credible. And probably the first hint is, if you can't find them, if you can't know from people in Japan and Korea just by doing a simple Google search that these people are the real deal, then they're probably not the real deal. And so Mabel has said over the past year and some months, why don't we just hire a coordinator? Or why don't we just have someone, just one person? Why have an entire MVA? Why can't there just be a person who interfaces with reputable, credible, big marketing firms in Japan and Korea and employ modern post-pandemic marketing campaigns that will actually attract tourists from Japan and Korea, Taiwan, and maybe even China to go to Saipan, Tinian, and Rota? Why can't the CNMI government overhaul the way it markets the CNMI to tourists by getting rid of MVA? Because it's not just Chris Concepcion who was the problem. He had a board that he answered to. And this board, which is also highly conflicted, was highly complicit in the last several years of failure to bring tourists into the CNMI. And who is suffering? It's the people of the CNMI who are suffering. While they all went on vacations, while they all spent your money to have a great time, while you stayed home with your power bill in the heat because you can't turn on your aircon because the power bill is so expensive, or your power got shut off. So many people going through the effects of the previous round of austerity. And there's MVA just traveling it up. There was Chris Concepcion just having a great time and spinning and telling the people of the CNMI that, we're doing all these great things. We're the professionals. We know what we're talking about. We're getting all this good stuff done with these marketing campaigns and these marketing firms and all these fancy little things. Well, where's the beef? Because the tourism numbers are telling a whole different story than what Chris Concepcion and MVA have been saying. And so now you have this resignation of Chris Concepcion, and even the governor, Governor Arnold Palacios, he could barely contain his excitement at this. He didn't say one nice thing about Chris Concepcion in this reaction that the governor's office issued a statement from the governor as saying, the governor essentially said, well, he's gone now. Now there's an opportunity to reset things. But it's not enough to just hire a new person at MVA. And Mabel's not going to take an MVA job. She makes too much money and is too smart for something like that. She's overqualified for the position, basically. But if she were to be offered that job, she would probably say to the government, you need to get rid of MVA. I don't want this job. And you need to hire someone who's actually competent. Someone who is disinterested in the high-level perks of a government official at the expense of the taxpayers. Mabel will probably say, give me 30 days. I'll work directly for the governor. I will tell you what sliver of a fraction the governor's office or whatever a new entity would take that was the MVA budget and begin the interface with all the right people and start coordinating the government agencies to spruce things up around Saipan, Tinian, and Rhoda, and get things going with MWR or whoever from Guam to begin marketing Saipan, Tinian, and especially Rhoda to the thousands of United States servicemen and women stationed in Guam, and the thousands more expected to come as the Marines continue their roll in into the island. I mean, all of this opportunity for tourism to be better than Guam in the CNMI, and all of it just pissed away the past couple of years on excessive, unnecessary, stupid travel, vacations, and trade shows, all on the public dime. Am I sad to see Chris Concepcion go? No, we've been advocating for that for the past year. But it isn't just Chris Concepcion. It isn't just that position of managing director or general manager or whatever. It is the board that has empowered that position. The board that has made these piss poor decisions as well. It's the entirety of MVA. And the legislature needs to get rid of it. Needs to overhaul how the CNMI government markets to travelers. And needs to pay attention to what Mabel Doge Lujan has been saying for the past year and some months. For Kandit News, I'm Troy Torres. You all have a wonderful evening. God bless you. And of course, I love you all.